Welcome to Whistleblowers in partnership with Wix Trade Pro.
Right, welcome to Whistleblowers, the bonus ball. This is the second episode of the week with Mark Clattenburg, the referee, the man in the middle, the gladiator star, dear friend and dedicated follower of fashion. All right, Mark?
I wouldn't say about fashion, but the gladiators ref adds up. Actually, what an amazing thing we did last weekend.
Yeah.
I've been at the O2 before, but not in that way. So we did 4 live shows, 2 each day, and they were full every show.
What's that, 12,000 capacity? Something like
12,500.
12,500 times 4 nights.
Yeah.
Do you not open the show as well?
And I opened the show, and I tell you what, my legs were shaking. You know, I've refereed in front of 100,000 people.
Like a shitting dog.
I was like, 12,500. I've walked out. It's pitch black. I stand in the middle, and then this light comes on us, and I shout, "Contenders ready, gladiators ready, London, are you ready?" And the crowd goes mental, and you know,
you tempted to go,
love
Newcastle.
Yeah.
No, I was like,
I was watching Battle of the Bagpipes on TV last night.
Whoa.
And it was all about the Edinburgh tattoo, and they had the lone piper who stands on the walls of Edinburgh Castle, and he was talking about how he was going to be trembling, and they make him look like he's right at perch, and he's actually hooked up.
Yeah.
To something like in case he falls forward. Yeah.
It's a good question, this one, actually. What's the most nervous you've ever been? Because that sounds like a
that was probably that for a long time. That's one I could probably remember.
Yeah.
That, you know, there's times where you sometimes like going on TV live and stuff. It can be a bit nerve wracking because you think one mistake and everybody's going to laugh.
Yeah.
But like in 12, if I'd said, like, for example, in me head, because I'd been in Liverpool for the first one, so I'm in me head, I'm thinking Liverpool, are you ready? And it's in my head, Liverpool.
Don't say it.
And then I'm like going to London, I'm thinking, I've got to see London.
What were you, Andy?
Probably when the wife said yes to my marriage proposal. I think, what have I done?
What have I done?
No, I think it was probably when I went to Liverpool as a Sun reporter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll join you on that one.
Yeah, when my daughter was in her first year at university there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You ran the gauntlet.
Do you ever get nervous going on live TV?
All the time, yeah. I think I presented Good Morning Britain for the first time. And I was like, this is actually... And that music, 6 o'clock in the morning. And then there's the voiceover as well. And now it's GMP with Susanna Reid and Gordon Smart. You're like, oh, fuck.
I'd be nervous sitting next to Susanna Reid, I think.
Not as nervous as she'd be sitting next to you.
What was yours and what's your most nervous?
I got to host a night at the Royal Albert Hall for the Teenage Cancer Trust.
Wow.
So you have to go on and start the night and explain why you're there, and then you bring on one of the patients, one of the young people who's got cancer, and they tell their story and you introduce a video. And I was nervous because I wanted to get it right for the kids, but also like 5,500 people in the Albert Hall. You're walking out and you've got to speak to them. And I remember I walked out and they said, and the hosting tonight is Gordon Smart from XFM and also showbiz editor of The Sun. It's like, don't say that. And there's a guy in the front row just went, "You cunt." And I went, mirror reader, nice to see you. I got a laugh at that because everyone heard it, but it was nerve-wracking.
You might not have been an XFM fan.
No, correct. Yeah. Yes.
I tell you what I used to laugh at when you're working for the American companies. And I'm new to all this like TV stuff and working as an analyst for football. And what's interesting is just about you go live on there, they'll say, "I hope you mess up."
Yeah.
I think, what a stupid thing to say. Yeah. Hope you mess up. It's like a way of enjoy the show and stuff.
I won't name the presenter, but when I used to go on as a pundit on back in the days of GMTV, so I've probably, there's a few people it could be, and just as you can see the guy going 5, 4, and he's counting, and that presenter just looked at me and went, "When I go home, I'm going to have sex with my wife. Good morning, welcome to GMTV."
You should have said to him, "So am I." I've got sex with your wife as well.
Right, boys. We're going to start with a question as tradition dictates. Scott asks, with the next exciting international break in full swing, I've seen a weird number of players either rule themselves out or refuse the call to play for their national squads. Chiesa literally turned down Gattuso. My question is, should players be allowed to decide whether or not they show up to international duty? Surely if you're picked, barring injury, you turn up, you put a shift in, you would never get away with it at club level. Andy, Dillon, you first of all.
Well, I didn't think you were allowed to turn it down. I thought that was the whole point. There was the...
Fergie was a big one on this, wasn't he?
Oh, it was rife years ago, but that's why I think they ended up bringing in the... They changed the rules, didn't they, Mark? You probably know better than me that you
FIFA
had to, because so many fake injuries that they report to be assessed and then come back if they're deemed not fit. So, you assume Nick Pope, Anthony Gordon, for example, and Mark Gay of Palace report for England. And then
they have to go to St George's Park.
Presumably. I'm not sure if they have to go to St George's Park, but I think some sort of assessment or...
Yeah, maybe one of the club doctors or the... Yeah, I'm sure the club doctors all work with the England doctor anyway, so I'm assuming that there'll be a level of trust within that environment that if the doctor of one club says that the player's injured, then
there has to be an element of communication, because I remember in the last few years covering Chelsea that things like that, there were often little discrepancies and clubs were starting to do it again. And there would be, the England manager would say one thing, but it wasn't quite saying that player never turned up and the club never did it. Then the club would have their counter arguments. Well, we did this and did that. And there was always to in and fro in. But I think by and large, certainly as far as England's concerned, I think it's much, much better than it was. I mean, I remember back in the days of the so-called golden generation, I think so it was rife. And because the Champions League was so valuable to them, club football was so much more important, and the clubs would really lean on them to come up with some sort of excuse. Sorry to go bang on, but I think it was Southgate who changed it all, changed the culture, and that was the best way to do it.
And I think what Gareth did cleverly, he worked with the managers, the coaches of the clubs, because if a coach had said, "Look, that player's not 100% fit, don't play him for a full 90 minutes." That's what usually happened on international duty. There has to be that level of... Because what you don't want is a player getting injured on international duty, which damages the club going forward. And then the club refused, not to refuse, but make it more difficult for the international... So you've got to have a two-way that if a player's... Okay, if he's fully fit and gets injured, that's life. And a player should always want to play for his national team, shouldn't he? I think Chiesa's an interesting one. He's used, as Scott said, Chiesa as an example, but Chiesa, what we've got to remember, he hasn't been selected since the Euro finals. Yeah. So therefore, he hasn't been a part of any of the squads going forward. Should he then just announce that he's retiring, or is he waiting for a new coach to come in? But then should he retire and then he can unretire, or is it just rubbish that we're saying that players should retire? If a player doesn't want to go, there could be an argument for Chiesa to say, "Look, I'm getting the back end of my career. I want to concentrate on my club, Liverpool. Therefore, I want to give all my energy to the club."
Fine. If you're done and dusted, if you say, "Well, that's it,"
That's it.
You can't pick and choose. You can't just say, "Yeah, you know what, this week."
What happens if you don't get on with the coach, Andy? What happens if you don't see eye to eye with the coach of the national team?
Let's take an example, and take Bellingham, right? So Bellingham, critical time for Real Madrid, Champions League, all that kind of stuff. Not got a good reputation with Tuchel, and you're playing what you could argue is a lesser side in a dead rubber of a match. Is it in your interest to travel, join a squad? Because he really needs to get back in, doesn't he?
Yeah, but it's not about what's your interest. It's about the national interest, surely, isn't it? So I was lucky enough.
As an England fan, right?
Well, no, so I was lucky enough for about 6-7 years. I covered Northern Ireland when they got to the Euros in 2016. Now, Stephen Davis, who was obviously well known to you guys up in Scotland as well, at Southampton, was it 100? I think he's outfield Britain's most capped player. Now, you imagine, is it in his interest to go here, there, and everywhere in Northern Ireland and by and large get beaten, and every home game's an away game?
Yeah.
But he still turned up week in, or month in, month out. Every tournament he was there, not because of his interest, because he felt the calling for it.
Patriotism,
yeah.
Loved his country.
So you've got to be there in the not so glamorous times to enjoy the party at the end, haven't you? You can't, imagine what's he going to do for the squad. Let's just using Bellingham just as a hypothetical example. He doesn't play any of the qualifiers. Do you know what? I am free for the day of the World Cup finals. I'll come in and then I'll lift the trophy. That's not going to go down well, is it?
Do you know what? You say that with tongue in cheek, but I kind of get the feeling that's the direction of travel a bit. With the modern individual in football,
I don't think so with England.
No,
I think Southgate made it fun. Yeah. He opened up England. Now I'm going to talk from a journalist point of view. The players used to be in vices of communication. They weren't allowed to talk about club football at England matches. They weren't allowed to talk about subjects other than England. when they went to their clubs, they weren't allowed to talk about England, so they weren't allowed to talk. Southgate just said, with the great press team, by the way, that they've got at the FA now on England, they opened things up and allowed the communication. And that's only a small part of it, but you could see there's more freedom of expression. So there was an incident with Joe Hart. I can't remember which World Cup. It might have been Brazil. I can't remember which World Cup. I think they had a darts league in the players' room. A journalist asked who's doing well, who's not doing well in it, and he wouldn't tell them. He refused to tell them because that was the culture. Yeah. It was like us and them. But it's not like that now. And when you're communicating freely with the media, you're communicating freely with the country. And Southgate's waistcoat became a thing. I think he's done an absolutely terrific job. Making everybody want England to win, so the players want to be part of that.
And fair play, same for Scotland. There's a club mentality with that Scotland team. So it's brilliant to watch because you feel like they care about each other and want to be part of it. And it's exactly 5 years ago to the day since Marshall saved that penalty. Remember that? Magical moment, Costa.
Magical.
5 years to the day today.
Wow.
Again, Mark, what's your take on that then? Because there's a lot of plays that you don't want to get injured, but you want to be in Tuchel's thoughts.
Yeah. I think it's hard for an English player to say, I'm going to refuse to play for your national team. I think the backlash would be so much on that player, and the player's not that stupid enough to create that problem for himself where he would, like, every stadium he went into, he would be booed. It would be very, very difficult. So I think players are probably advised better on how to manage that situation. If they're not in the squad and they're upset, there's ways to deal with it. It's interesting how Bellingham's reacted over the last few months from not being in. He's kept his mouth shut. His parents haven't said much, which is unusual from... So has he learned... Is there a lesson being learned that he's come back in, going to be integrated back within the England squad? And it's interesting, Thomas Tuchel, what he wants. He seems to want to carry on what Gareth Southgate's done and the good work that he's done. Because, like Andy said, I used to see players in refereeing Liverpool in Manchester United, for example, and they were all in the England team, and they wouldn't speak to each other. They despised each other.
I can't remember, one of the players recently came out and talked about the cliques. England camps because the animosity between the clubs.
But there was the Chelsea in the north thing as well, wasn't there?
It was
bad idea.
And then you end up with you have that really symbolic photo. Again, I can forget which tournament it is. My memory is shocking of all the players on the inflatable dinosaurs and stuff in the swimming pool.
Oh, yeah.
My great mate Eddie Keogh, who's the photographer, took it. Yeah. And they were all just larking about.
It's Lingard in the pool, isn't it? Is it Lingard or was it?
Loads of them, I think, all mucking about. And I think he also got to Jordan Henderson, may have been Jordan Henderson, sitting in an ice bath in his room. Managed to persuade him to do that and sit there in the ice bath and take these great shots and bring them to life with, for the nation and bring that, lessen that distance between the population and the players themselves.
Of course, there's going to be a clique in any workplace. There's people who are better mates. It was famous with the Scotland team back in the day. There was the Scots playing in England, the Dalglish, the Souness, the Hansons, and then the Scottish boys who stayed in Scotland and won European silverware with Fergie at Aberdeen. But there was apparently a bit of a clique in that direction as well. Yeah. So it's nothing new.
No, it's definitely nothing new.
I think again, I would have given anything to play for Scotland. And then even the notion of getting called up to play against Andorra.
A few years ago, you'd have had a chance.
Yeah, you might have a chance against Andorra.
Do you know? I could do a shift. Right, now then, boys, before we get back to it, a bit of a shout out to our partners at Wix Trade Pro, because I found myself in the middle of a bit of DIY. I was putting some shelves up and I was short of wall plugs, which is not where you want to be, Ian.
Classic. Let me guess. You jumped on the app?
Exactly that, Ian. The rapid delivery thing is fantastic. I had what I needed within 3 hours, saved the day.
What, 3 hours? That's quicker than some VAR decisions.
True that. And the beauty of it, Trade Pro members save 10% every time they shop, in-store or online. No minimum spend, no faff.
Yeah, it's built to save tradespeople time and money, and it's proper handy if you're caught short midway through the job and you need some extra kit.
So if you're in the trade, download the Wix Trade Pro app and sign up today.
That's Wix Trade Pro, helping you get the job done without the last minute panic. Football from the inside out. This week, it's my turn to ask a question of Mark Clattenburg, but I'm going to ask the same question of you, Andy Dillon, so pay attention, please.
Once.
It's Route 1, classic question, pub chat, but you've got a dinner party, you can have 4 guests, alive or dead, who are you having?
Wow. I'm going to try and talk about my life then. So I'll start off who was influential in my school life. So the first person I'll choose is a guy called, and nobody probably know him except if you went to Cramlington High School, was a school teacher, PE teacher called Mr. Reach, David Reach. Why I choose him was he was the one that finally told us that we're shit at football and the best solution would be to take your refereeing exam. So there was myself and a few other guys who were useless at football, decided to go on a course, did the course, and the next bit's history. So if it wasn't for him, I'm not sure I would have been a referee.
So genuinely, if he hadn't been there, would you have done the exam?
No.
It's mad, isn't it? Entire life changes in that
Because I
decision.
still wanted to play football.
Yeah.
And what pissed us off near the end, like in me ending up in my football career, that's why I just stopped it all of a sudden. They would put us on the bench. So I was playing Sunday afternoon for my youth team, and they would put us on the bench. I'm like, why are you putting us on the bench? Because we want you to run the line for the first half. Because I was a referee there, and I was like, I want to play. And then in the end, I just started refereeing. But without his
input, good guess.
I am not sure I would have been sitting here.
Is he still alive? He's still
yeah.
Still in the
Yeah. So he's still alive. Yeah, he invited us to a dinner which I couldn't attend a couple of years ago. But without his
brilliant
wisdom and guidance, and also a little story from the back of me and him had a good relationship. He was one of these school teachers that knew how to manage children. Yeah. And I remember my parents were really strict, and he wanted us to play football. Now I refused to, even though I played quite a high level at junior level. Yeah. And he wanted us to play for the school, and I refused. And he said, look, I want you to play. And I said, no. And that was the end of it. And then I'd had a bit of trouble with a French teacher. She was a hot French teacher. And I worked up to her, and she put us on report. So report means she had to fill it in, and other school teachers had to fill your report in. It went to him, and then it went to your parents. And I said to him, look, if it goes to my parents, knowing that I would be barred from everything, if it goes to my parents, I'll not be able to play for the school. He says, will you play for the school? I said, yes. If that report doesn't go home, he says, I'll bury it every week.
And it's interesting, that principle you've carried on through your career as well.
So we had a good relationship. He would be my first one. Second one is me childhood crush. I had a childhood crush on Belinda Carlisle. So I had all of us. Remember talking about me youth, when you used to get them, the only way you could buy CDs was if you bought it from this like postage thing. Yeah.
Britannia.
Yeah. Was it? So you used to get like so many CDs sent to you. So all of my CDs were always Belinda Carlisle. And I remember
see that coming.
So she would be one, and I remember a little story, like one of the guys I used to go to college with, and I was giving him a lift home from South Shields College back over through the Tyne Tunnel to the north side. And he was looking through my CD collection because you had, the radio that you had to pull out because they would steal it otherwise, CD player. And he was looking through my CDs, and there were quite a few of them were Belinda, and he was just throwing them out the window because he was more trendy than I was. Yeah. So Belinda Carlisle. Third one would be Pierluigi Collina.
Right.
Talking about me refereeing career again. Without him, I certainly wouldn't have achieved anywhere near the levels I did because of the issues that I had within England. I had big fights with David Ellery and Mike Riley, who were the head of refereeing in the Football Association in the Premier League. They wanted Martin Atkinson to go to the major finals. They didn't want me. But Pierluigi Collina backed me. Whenever I was refereeing the big games in UEFA, I would die through brick walls. And I remember one time I was refereeing Malmo against Atletico Madrid. And the meetings before the game, we didn't have to go to referees, so we relied on the referee observer to go to the pre-meetings, explain to the clubs what was going to happen, see the team colours, everything was in place. And we used to have 3 colours as referees, yellow, blue and black. So it was decided that we're going to wear yellow. So I badged it all up, left the other kit in the hotel room, went to the stadium, goes out for the start of the game. Atletico have got their tracksuit tops on. They pull the tracksuit tops off after the Champions League anthem, and they've got the same colour as me. And I'm thinking, what do I do? I can't walk off the pitch because we can't have a delayed kick-off. They were passing us the ball, which I'm not a great footballer, so there was no good passing to me. Half time, they're getting the message. UEFA are not happy. The colours are clashing with my colour. Can you change it? But we didn't have enough tops. The rest of the tops were in the hotels. So I couldn't even change them to any other colour. So I had one top, which I put on. My 2 assistants didn't, so they kept the same colours, which wasn't really, but I got the change, which looked terrible for a Champions League game. After the match, a huge message from Pierluigi Collina. And it was the point where a grown man was crying. I thought my career was ended.
Oh, wow.
And I thought it was over because he said that's not acceptable for a top referee to be like that, how embarrassing it was, blah, blah, blah. And I wrote him a lengthy email on the flight, and I remember looking out the window thinking, my career's over.
Aye.
And I sent him a lengthy email, what went wrong, it's my fault, didn't make any excuses, even though there was a lot of elements that were out of my control, but I took responsibility. This is what I would do in the future, blah, 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 blah. Interesting. Another email came out from UEFA to all the referees. This is now the procedure from my procedures, which was good that he actually listened to us. And then the following week, he gave us a big match in Europe, and I could have died from that day. I was like, I'm going to run through a brick wall for you, and I did.
Yeah.
And I remember the message after the game. Congratulations, great performance. And like, you think from there.
Good management, that, isn't it? That's proper management, isn't it?
He had that perfect management.
Yeah, there's a great speech about that, isn't there? It's about responsibility and blame, which I always thought was really important as an editor, right? Because you could just say, that was your fault, but you're like, well, I'm the gaffer, I'm in charge. Yeah. Whatever happens, my responsibility. And when you soak up the shit, the people will fight for you. Yeah, and there was another, like a little one, it was the Euro finals. So we used to have a meeting after the matches to talk about your performance. And I remember he wrote on a piece of paper and he'd give it to Hugh Dallas, ex-Scottish referee. He was the number 2 in UEFA. Absolute shambles. Yeah. So he wrote on a piece of paper and he says to us, Mark, he says, how do you think of performing? It was Croatia, Czech Republic, where they had to stop their match. And the game was, I give a correct penalty against Croatia. Everything was normal. The game was, everybody was satisfied after the game. And he goes, how do you think you performed this? I didn't think I did that well. He said, what do you mean? I said, bit tired. I don't know. I just can't put my finger on it. Maybe too many games in quick succession. Maybe after the Champions League final. I don't know. I don't know what went wrong, but I just lacked energy. And he made us turn the piece of paper and it said lacked energy. And he said, look, he says, I'm thinking about sending you home, but you're coming back. And I says, it's my daughter's birthday in a couple of days. I would love, like thinking in my head, I would love to go and surprise her. He says, we'll pay for the flights. We'll sort it all out. Just disappear for a couple of days. And I'm thinking, God, I'll surprise Mia. I'll go home for my daughter. What a great surprise it would be. Nip home. Another day later, get a flight back to Paris. Appointments come out that day. I'm 4th official. I couldn't even go home. No. I couldn't even go home. Rested you on the side. Yeah.
But
tremendous.
He
good
was
leadership, though. Good management. Interesting.
He learned me a lot.
Yeah.
He learned me a lot as about a referee, and he also learned me a lot as a person, and the art of management. And I always feel to get the best out of somebody is sometimes I needed a kick up the arse. Sometimes I needed an arm around us. Yeah. And it's that art of knowing that person, because you can't know everybody, but you've got to know the key people who are influencing all the other referees in their performances. If you keep the top referees happy, the rest follow. Yeah. But if you upset the top, and it's probably the same in football clubs, your top players, if you damage the top players' relationships, then most of the time you're going to end up out the door. So he was successful. And the last person I'd say was, and he never got the chance, was my dad. My dad died when I was 21. So it was a shock, but he never got the chance. He supported us when I was 16 on the grassroots. So they would come and look over the hedge while I was nervously trying to control 22 drunks, which was an achievement in its own. And he always drove us around to the games. And then he never got the chance to see what I actually achieved. So, and to have a unique name of Clattenburg, because the name came from Canada. My father was Canadian. His dad was an ice hockey player for Durham. He was a Canadian import. So he came to play for Durham Wasps as a netminder. So that's how they came into England. And then so that's how the family came, and that name was quite unique. So it was nice that I could carry that name forward and do something and achieve something that I probably never ever thought as a child. Growing up in a council estate, being not last picked in the football team, because I always was, but I was bullied for what I wore, because we couldn't afford anything. but to achieve something, I wish my father was there to see it, you know.
Class, man. What a lovely choice.
Touching that, yeah.
Aye. Glad, yeah. You must be dead proud of you, you know.
Yeah, but it would have been nice just for him to see, because like me wife's father, he's passed away a few years ago, but he saw some of me major achievements, you know, the big matches, the Champions League nights. So he was mega proud. You don't realise, it was interesting because about a year after he died, somebody stopped us in an airport lounge and started talking about him. And he said, like, he never shut up about you, but he never talked to me about that.
Yeah.
So he must have been ultra proud of, you know, something that I achieved. But I remember Claire, like when I met Claire, our mum didn't want us to go out with us because she thought I was a football player.
But it's bad news. One watch. Yeah. Right, Dills, whistle stop tour of yours.
Right. Would be Kelly Brook. Kelly Brook's younger sister, Kelly Brook's older sister, and Kelly Brook's mum. No, be serious about it just for a brief second. I think
She's got brothers.
She's got something else as well.
I would go. There's quite a few. The famous names would have to be. I think I'd have to go for Muhammad Ali.
Yep.
And I would talk to him about the way he refused to draft.
Yeah.
I just, when I first learned about that years, just the strength of character to do what he did there against the most powerful nation in the world. What a statement. What a man stand up for his beliefs. You just sit and, I mean, he was never shy of talking anyway. I wouldn't want quiet people at my dinner table, you know. Yeah. So it'd have to be Ali. I think I would have my late father-in-law actually as well. My wife's dad died 6-7 years ago. And he was a brigadier in the British Army, in the Royal Engineers. Met so many amazing stories, which he only started to tell me a couple of them later on in his life. I mean, he mixed in some, you know, a brigadier, I think he's one below general. So he mixed with serious level people in the governments. He was, you know, he was very close, worked with Tom King, the old Defence Secretary years ago, was involved in Northern Ireland and whatever. And some amazing stories there. And I do miss him terribly. I think I would also have my late brother John, who died about a year ago, because he was just fabulous company, and he was only 60.
Yeah, Sean.
And fabulous company around a dinner table. He would eat me out of house and home.
Yes.
You know, he was a big boy. Yeah. So I'd have to get plenty in and plenty of beer as well, but I'd just like another chance of that.
Yeah.
And then I think you, perhaps, Gordon, because you'll be the only person that made me look like I had good table manners. Yeah, you're the only person I know that makes me look posh. So I think I'd have to have you there. But yeah, I think
bring the fish suppers.
I'm shocked.
Yeah,
I'm shocked. I thought he would have had Ian Ladyman.
Yeah,
I thought he would have had him at the
Ian's
dinner
the
table
waiter.
after his horse story.
After his behaviour at my wedding.
Yeah.
He's barely allowed through the front door.
Absolutely brilliant. Boy. So,
Quickly, yours?
Both my granddads, because I'm old enough now to really understand what their lives. You know, my granddad on my dad's side is a fascinating character, a real rascal. You know, but he had a coal truck before the war. Then he learned to be an engineer and fought all the way through North Africa, through Europe, Monte Cassino, into Greece, and then Palestine as well. And was stationed in Haifa, but he played for Scotland against England at White Hart Lane for the Armed Forces.
Wow.
He was stationed at Woolwich Arsenal. Played centre forward. And a little known fact about my family, his name is David Weir Smart, and his brother is David Weir, the footballer's granddad. So I relate to David Weir.
Yeah.
So my dad's Andrew Galloway Weir Smart, David Weir Smart. David Weir's and I think it's a
entrenched
resemblance
in your family, isn't it? Football and fighting.
Football fighting, yeah. And my other granddad, his nickname was Boom Boom locally because he just loved telling jokes and having a crack.
Yeah.
He liked to dress well, dance, and gamble mainly.
Sounds like me.
I mean,
no need for a DNA test.
He'd be there. And then Sean Connery, obviously, would have to be there.
Yeah, I could
just
see
for
that.
Stories. And then the fourth guest, that's a tricky one. I mean, I feel it feels like there's quite a lot of lads around the table. So I'd have to invite an interesting woman, and I've been really lucky to meet a few over the years. But God, who would I have? I'm trying to think of an interesting actress. I think Helen Mirren might have to
I was actually thinking Helen Mirren. I would like to what? Yeah.
I think that would keep my granddads and Sean happy.
Yeah, it would do. Yeah,
And also, I think one of the I don't know if you feel like this, but there's a moment you watched a drama and just felt totally engrossed in it by a performance. But Prime Suspect,
Yes,
was
yeah,
probably
yes,
the first
yeah,
program where I thought,
yeah.
women, D.I. Jane Tennyson.
Jane
I'll never
Tennyson,
forget that.
yeah, yeah.
She was unbelievable.
She is still phenomenal
and
as
then
well.
The Long Good Friday, one
Phenomenal.
of my favourite films.
Yeah,
She was
yeah.
brilliant in that.
Yeah,
So I'd love to ask her about working with Bob Hoskins, Pierce Brosnan as a young man in Long Good Friday.
yeah, yeah.
And she lived in Wapping. So when Andy and I worked in Wapping together, every now and again you'd bump into Dame Helen buying her
What, just from the shop?
buying her stuff in the local supermarket.
Wow.
I never did.
Did you never?
No, I was.
Graham Norton and her used to be kicking
Really?
around all
I didn't
the time.
know- I
It's probably
know-
because I spent more time skiving outside the
Yeah.
office.
I was always out roving, getting in all the big
Yeah.
exclusives, wasn't I? That's the reason why. But
You were in the rows on the highway. Okay. So there you go. There's
no,
my fault.
I would, I would love to sit with Helen Mirren for an evening and just.
She's great crack as well.
I
apparently.
can well believe it. Yeah,
Sensational crack.
yeah.
Right, lads, that was a joy. Maybe you could get in touch with us and tell us what you think. Who would your 4 be? Alive or dead? Daily Mail, whistleblowers at dailymail.com. Get in touch with us on socials. Now, Mark, brace yourself for this, Andy, right? Because it's horrendous. Would you blow the full-time whistle, please? We're back next week.
I have it back.
Thank you very much for watching Whistleblowers. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember, episodes every Thursday and Tuesday. And on a Sunday, you'll get our clip of the week.